Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Steve and Larson's Pro Wrestling Podcast, ruining pro wrestling podcasting since 2014. On today's episode, we're bringing back the old top 10 deal, the count-out deal, where today we're going to talk about the top 10 worst tag team breakups in wrestling history, or at least since 1985. I don't know, maybe pre-1985 there was a tag team. Can you name a tag team that precedes 1985, Larson?
Freebirds. Von Erichs.
There you go. Von Erichs. There you go. Good job. Well done. Anyway, so we're going to talk about the war. I don't even know how I think the Freebirds just sort of fizzled out. They ended up like
they replaced Terry Gordy with Jimmy
Garvin. Yeah. And then they went to WCW, and then they just sort of Doc Hendricks became a thing.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yep.
And we all know Von Erichs. So, anyways, on today's episode, we're going to talk about 10 worst tag team breakups. This was suggested by a friendo.
Yeah.
Which was really nice. And I'm going to try to find that friendo's name so we can give some credit here. But this is obviously inspired by A-Town Down Under and their breakup. Because, boy, that was a big turd of a breakup, and they're going to make this list also, Larson.
They will, because it's even in the annals of pro wrestling where stuff is brought up and dropped, sometimes without much fanfare. It's notable how little fanfare was paid to the breakup of A-Town Down Under, former tag champs at that. But we'll talk about them more later. We got several more entries before we talk about A-Town Down Under, so let's just get started, Steve.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into it. We'll start off, of course, with number 10.
10.
The Bar, or as we like to refer to him, The Bar.
The Bar, of course, Cesaro, when Claudio was in WWE, and Sheamus. They were a tag team for quite a while. I remember we were at the match where Cesaro hit the ring post with his teeth, and his teeth got, knocked up into a skull a little bit against the Hardys.
Yeah.
It was a No Mercy in L.A., I believe it was.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Anyways, so they had a pretty long and storied run at the top of the WWE tag division after Sheamus and Cesaro, had that best of 7 series, and the last one just kind of ended in no match because they just kept beating the shit out of each other, and they're like, hey, we're so good at beating each other up, maybe it'd be better if we beat other people up together. And then
it was a great beginning to a tag team.
It really was. Really was. So let's go back to WrestleMania 35. The-Bar lost against the Usos in their bid to win the SmackDown tag titles. And I remember this. Raw after Mania that year. Beginning of the show. This is after Kofi beat Daniel Bryan for the title. Seth beats Brock Lesnar for the title at Mania 35. So it seems like the main event of the Raw after Mania is going to be Seth versus Kofi. It is that match to begin with, but then
and
The-Bar,
not only is it Seth versus Kofi,
winner take all.
We were going to have a double champ.
Yep.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah. Instead, The-Bar interrupts, and the crowd dumps all over it.
Yeah.
So then on the following SmackDown, Sheamus gets a concussion in a 6-man tag match against the New Day, and then shortly after that, WWE draft happens. Cesaro's drafted to Raw. Sheamus is out recuperating because of the concussion. And at first, Cesaro's still rocking the The-Bar stuff, the theme, doing this thing. And then eventually he gets his own branding. And, Sheamus is just off TV for a while and eventually returns in 2020. And it's just like they're separated. That was it. That was the breakup of The-Bar.
Yeah, I doubt that he'd ever. I'd be surprised if Claudio ever came back to the company. If WWE wanted him back. He's a big dude, and he's just a phenomenal wrestler. Seems to be happy with what he's doing now, I would think.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, I think a The-Bar reunion would be great. They were a wildly fun tag team. Also, it's fun revisiting this Raw after Mania. Of course, it was a 2019 Raw after Mania, and everything in 2019 sucked. And so, this was no different. A lot of people were bitching about this Raw after Mania. A lot of them around this time. They set such a great precedent, around 2012, to whenever the Dolph cash-in was. I remember that being peak Raw after Mania.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just sort of these these aren't really living up to the hype. You know, there was some you get like call-ups, which were pretty cool and shit.
You know what? The bar was set too high.
It was absolutely. I got what you did there. You know, somebody the other day they mentioned a pun that you made. Oh, it was when we were doing the TNA silly TNA names, and it was like Larson killed it with this, and then Steve no sells it. But then I had a friendo back me up and said, you know what, Larson still outpaces Steve in no selling jokes. So I have some catching up to do. Apparently, the other funny thing about this is like because Peacock doesn't have, they might have this Raw after Mania. I'm not sure, but they got rid of so much stuff.
Right? Yeah.
You can still watch this match, and this is one where they manipulated the shit out of the audio.
Oh, because they were doing all the AEW chants and stuff during this.
You can still kind of make out an AEW. There's it's like a 3.5 minute version of this match, like just a finish. And you can still kind of make out, but as soon as you turn it on, you can tell it is the most manufactured crowd noise. It's just, you know, and
they ripped the audio from the video game and just put it on. Yeah.
I think literally there was like some evidence to suggest that. Yeah. But yeah, AEW chants, CM Punk chants. It was a really lively crowd, and they were like, "Good Lord, this is what we're being given." Like they were gonna have a winner take all match. That's a cool idea because they had just done it with the Becky Lynch thing.
Yeah.
And so it was like, man, Seth might get both these titles. It's weird, honestly, looking back, like the Kofi Mania thing is such a wonderful moment. But then you go back and I watched this match and I'm like, it's weird Kofi being WWE champion, you know? Like he got such a short run and it was just like, I don't know. It just seems, it's like, in retrospect, I wish it was like a Big E Mania moment, you know? Like, how about his dudes get behind him to win the big? Because he just looks, he's so big. Yeah, you know,
yeah,
championship.
Oh no, Kofi Mania was pretty great. It
was great, but then like the moment was great, but then after that, it's like, does this guy really pass the sniff test as champion? Just keeping it real, man.
I know. Hey, that's your take.
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on now.
Let's move on number 9.
To number 9.
9.
SCU.
This is the 9th worst tag team breakup of all time, according to our list. So at this point, Scorpio Sky had been like, all right, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to be a soloist competitor. And so Kazarian and Daniels, this is after they lost the tag titles. They were the very first AEW tag champs, of course. And Kazarian pretty much said, if he conferred with Christopher Daniels about this, or he just said it. Next loss we take is our last match as a tag team. We're breaking up. Which, this is not the first time we've seen this. I think Mickie James did something after this. The last rodeo, the idea that she's going to keep going until she loses and then she's done.
Yeah,
cool. I wouldn't be surprised something like this happened before SCU. So the concept, I think, is a good one.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I think they won, 12 or 13 matches heading into May.
Dude, look, make no mistake about this one. It's
all about the moment.
It was fine the way they did it. The moment they lose this awesome match with the Young Bucks and Daniels is bleeding everywhere.
Bleeding all over the place, yeah.
EVP trigger, I think, was the finish. And they get the pin. And instead of this should have been like at least a solid 5-minute crowd appreciation, emotional moment in the ring. They hug it out. As soon as this happens, as soon as the match is finished, what do, Larson?
They cut backstage to an interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. No milking of the moment.
I thought it was like a brawl. It wasn't a brawl, it was an interview.
I thought it was an interview.
Okay.
There's something backstage.
Something happened. They were like, oh, something's happening backstage. Let's get back there. Maybe it was I don't know what it was. But you don't cut from that.
No. You spent the first, almost half of 2021 building up to this moment.
Yeah.
And you don't give them an opportunity to milk the drama. For them to get their flowers from the live crowd, for them to get that moment. These are your first tag champs.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
They were so over, too. They were super popular.
They were super popular. And, it seemed like Tony Khan could not get away from that moment fast enough.
Yeah, that was
And it torpedoes what could have been a really great kind of end to their run as a tag team because, Kazarian and Daniels been a tag team for, 20 years.
You could have even done an angle here where one of them turns on the other. Hey, it's done. Let's separate. Let's have a feud. But instead, they just, nope, we're done. We're finished. And that was, I mean, we're talking 2 years into, what was the month? Do you remember the month?
2021, yeah. It
Do
was
you
May
remember
of
the
2021.
month? May?
Yeah,
Okay, so it was around 2 years after. But it was one of just, again, AEW and their production issues at the time. I remember just being a constant thing where it's like, golly, they really can't get the production stuff. They can't nail the big moments.
Yeah.
And this was definitely a big moment that they messed up on.
They did mess it up.
Oh, boy, this one's awkward as hell. Let's talk about this. Number 8.
8.
Rusev Day.
So it's back in 2018. We had the pairing of Rusev, Aiden English, Rusev Day. Lana eventually joined as well. And they were vying for the tag titles over on SmackDown. They faced the New Day at Hell in a Cell 2018, lost that match, and then the following episode of SmackDown, Aiden English turned on Rusev, ending Rusev Day. And then in a series of really awkward promos and videos, at first, Aiden English alludes to the fact that he had an affair with Lana in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And then the following week, he presents to the audience One Night in Milwaukee, which is shot on his phone. And he's in this hotel room, no shirt on, like practicing what kind of song he's going to sing at the next city or in Milwaukee. Knock on the door. Lana comes in and says, this won't take long. There's something I want to say to you, and I feel like I need to say it to you in person. I want you. Cut. And so Rusev is like, what the heck is this? And Aiden English says, I'll show you the rest at some other time. And we get a match a couple weeks after that. Rusev wins that, and they don't cross paths again.
Well, they did a segment where we do see the rest of the video.
Yeah.
And honestly, dude, like this is in late 2018. So it's crossing into WWE 2019 territory.
Yeah.
All right. And it just smacks of 2019. And so Aiden English gets in the ring and he's like, I'm going to show you the video. And he's like, but I'm not. Instead, you have to make a choice, Rusev. It's either me or her. And then Lana comes out. And the crowd is fucking dead. It's awkward silence in this segment. This segment, it remains. I mean, that's a great thing about like WWE's YouTube is that like in terms of segments, they're pretty much all there.
Yeah.
Like matches you can still see, or parts of matches or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and then Rusev he's looking confused. Everybody is so awkward. It's not like a snappy segment where the crowd is boom, boom, boom. And this kind of shit would happen all the time. And so like Rusev starts to go down. And Lana's out there, and she was like, why don't you show the rest of the video? It's like, I'm not going to show it. And then, like, they press the issue, and they show it. They have it. And when she says, I want you, that was the first clause of the sentence, I want you to know how much you mean to Rusev. And he's standing there with that farmer's stand, all pasty, and he makes a move, and she's like, whoa. He was like, oh, no, I was just going for a hug. And she's like, that's awkward. I got to get out of here. So she beats feet. And he's like, oh, Lana, no. And then, and so, yeah, like the big night in Milwaukee was just an awkward encounter where he made a move and he's got no riz. And so she didn't bite on it. And, and so then Rusev goes down there and puts an ass whooping on. And then did you say they didn't have a match after this? Or
they did have a match at the end of October of 2018. Just the one match. Rusev wins that, and that was it.
It was a really popular faction or tag team, which was like also a tag team, which really was, I don't think necessarily planned to be as nearly as over as they were.
No, I mean, Matt Raywald has talked about it extensively, a couple interviews. I have a quote here from Inside the Ropes, and I watched another clip from an interview he gave. I forgot what the name of the show was, but it was Sean Mooney's podcast.
Okay.
And on that one, I don't have the transcript from that. I'll just kind of summarize. He pretty much said it wasn't like they were necessarily trying to torpedo Rusev Day, because he said if that was the case, they just wouldn't put him on TV, but they did. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like Vince would always find ways to kind of undersell their accomplishments. When they were the top merch seller, he's like, "Oh, I guess we just didn't print a bunch of merch." Mm-hmm. You know, like they'd sell out all the Rusev Day shirts at a show to find out they only brought one box of their shirts. You know. And he said in that interview that once Vince sees you in a certain way and really likes you in that role, That's it. And he says for Rusev, he was the Bulgarian brute. That was it. And it's interesting because Drew McIntyre just recently had an interview, I can't remember where he talked about something similar, where he was trying to do different stuff as, babyface Drew McIntyre, and Vince was like, no, this is who you are. We heard that in the Jon Moxley Talk to Jericho interview. And once Vince has kind of cast you in that role and likes the casting job he did, it's like basically impossible to get out of it. And so another interview with Inside the Ropes, he talks about pushing back on the breakup. He says, I knew this would happen at some point. I mean, we were all hoping it would last longer, but then it's funny. So it was pretty much like, I'm like, all right, 2 or 3 weeks time, goodbye. And then they kind of kept it. And that mixed match challenge stuff kind of happened. And we were kind of got to do things together. Even me and Lana got to do things together. But then eventually, sometimes they just want to go in different directions so bad. We argued and kind of pitched our point. We wanted to really kind of keep it running as long as we could. But at the end of the day, the powers that be are the powers that be. And they saw different things for Rusev and different things for me. So time to go in that direction. It's not the way I would have had a split. But sometimes you make your fight, you make your argument, you make your pitch. But at the end of the day, you do what you're told.
Yeah, which, I mean, look, I think that's not... The guy cutting the checks is the guy. And, we've talked about how Triple H seems to be more open to collaboration. I think it works a lot better that way.
Yes.
But during that period of time, it seems like the way to keep your sanity is just to have that level of professional detachment. It's like, this is what he wants to do. Well, what are we going to do about it? At least he's not humiliating us, although you could claim that what we saw, but it was a performance. So yeah, I mean, honestly, it could have been a lot worse with Aiden English. It's kind of shocking that they didn't I don't know. I mean, they gave, what was it? Didn't they give, what was the cuck angle? Didn't Heyman with the, who was that? Remember they accused somebody of being a cuck. It wasn't the Lashley Bobby, it wasn't the Lashley Lana Rusev stuff?
I think so.
Was it? Yeah, I think it was too.
Because that was after this.
Yeah, that was 2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
So man, this was lame because they were super popular, but I guess they just went. Dude, it's interesting to me, and to a degree, in terms of creatively what you're trying to do for your show. I'll give you an example. Not a specific example, but I'm putting myself in those shoes. There are certain things that we've done here on the show that if we know something performs the best, if we're not into it or it's too much of a hassle, we're not going to do it, even if everybody wants to see it. Like, creatively speaking, I can understand if something is becoming popular, but you don't vibe with it. I can understand why there wouldn't be a desire to keep it going. I can understand that. To me, I go back to the Lashley thing, where it's like Triple H obviously had a thing in mind for Lashley. Bad guy. Crowd didn't buy into that because the crowd loves Lashley. Here's the problem. When you have a big dude like that who does cool shit and he's built up so much goodwill with the fan base, they're going to want to see that guy succeed, and they're going to cheer that guy. Mm-hmm. Well, if you look at him and you're like, I need a monster heel, and it's not working the way you want it to work, maybe you just don't have the creative energy to be like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't agree with that. I think that you should try to find something to do for him.
Yeah.
But I can understand that mindset. I can understand it.
Another thing Matt Raywalt said in the interview on Sean Moody's show was that whenever the crowd was chanting Rusev Day, he was comparing it to the crowd chanting "You suck" at Kurt Angle. It's like, they're making fun of the whole presentation. And Matt Raywalt is like, no, that's not what's happening out there. Vince is like, you're heels, so they're poking fun at you. This is like a sarcastic Rusev Day. He just didn't get it, seemingly.
Yeah, I feel like the crowd just really liked Rusev Day. Like I I could see the appeal. They were charming together. It was an
Absolutely.
odd couple thing. It's like, why does this work? But bizarrely, it does. Mm-hmm. But again, I don't necessarily know if like I would know how to fantasy book that. You know, like, oh, what do you really do with this? I don't know. You know, like I can see that, but like, and you know, honestly, again, Vince's been doing that for decades and decades. You know, he might be so old and out of touch. But good luck explaining that to him. You know, it's like I've known what I've been doing for this long. Why would I now all of a sudden not know what I'm doing? I get people think that like, you know, just because some dude's hella old. No, when you're old, the older you are, the more you dig your heels in.
I know. We're gonna get to that later about an instance. Where
That's literally a phrase. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
all right,
literally a phrase used later on. Before we get to that particular entry, let's move on to number 7, Steve.
Well, we'll move on in just a second. August is right around the corner. It's about a week
Yes.
away. Of course, we got SummerSlam coming up. We're going to be doing live watch-alongs and reviews for that. Before we mention that, though, or because of that, of course, we've got the big predictions challenge. So the person who's going to dethrone the guy who dethroned me is going to be crowned. Or maybe the current guy, Jack Showtime, will retain. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe Larson will win. Maybe I'll become a 2-time predictions champion. I don't know. Anything. Oh, wow. That's the reaction. Interesting. Okay. No faith whatsoever. You went from having faith, I won, and then now no faith.
I can't have you win again before I do. It's just not cool.
All right, fair enough. I appreciate the honesty there. I really do. So, of course, the predictions challenge, it's a lot of fun. I think in this last one, we had around 320 so people participate. And it's a lot of fun to track it all. Of course, we got 4 events in August. This is a huge predictions challenge.
Loaded.
Both nights of SummerSlam, Forbidden Door, and, of course, Clash in Paris. If you want to participate in the predictions challenge, also Larson and I, we're going to get back right after SummerSlam. We're going to start doing our monthly bonus podcasts as well. So if you want to get back in on that, I'm also compiling a directory of all of our decent bonus stuff. So all the Friendo casts, all the directory of Smash Zones as well. That I've uploaded. And then all like the bonus episodes from like years past, so you guys can go back and watch the old bonus stuff. We have a ton of stuff. Yeah. So I'm compiling a directory. I just started yesterday. So I'll be putting that up shortly on both the channel memberships and the Patreon. If you want in on that and the question threads for the recap shows, you just click join right here at youtube.com/Steven Larson or go to patreon.com/Steven Larson. Click on the Friendo Club setup there. Either way you do it, it's only $5 a month. It's a huge way to help support the podcast here. And we give you our sincere thanks. Get our name down there, and then you get your name also on the end credits thing as well that we do.
Yep.
So be sure to check all that out. Predictions challenge coming up soon. Be sure to get in on it. Now, Larson, we can move on to number 7.
7.
Heavy Machinery.
So let's go back to 2020. We're in the midst of the pandemic.
Can we not, please?
Well, for the sake of this entry, we kind of have to. Midst the pandemic, so we're talking PC era, WWE programming, Thunderdome era.
Just the fucking worst.
So, of course, Otis. Still get angry about this. Otis wins Money in the Bank in 2020. And then through the fall, he's feuding with The Miz because The Miz wants that briefcase.
It's got my Otis right here. I had a Money in the Bank briefcase, too, somewhere.
And so Tucker has Otis's back through all this.
Yeah.
In the 2020 draft, they're split up. They split Heavy Machinery. Tucker goes to Raw, Otis to SmackDown. And so they keep teaming. For a while, Otis is doing the El Gran Gordo gimmick. And then eventually at Hell in a Cell, Otis puts the briefcase up in a match against The Miz. And Tucker turns on him, costing Otis that match. And then they get in a brawl backstage. And that was it. Survivor Series has happened, I think, the next month. No match. Yeah. We never got a match between them.
We never had a match. We had, I think, 2 backstage segments with Tucker kind of explaining himself. And that's also kind of a thing we'll see a couple times in this episode is I just wanted to do my own thing, and he was dead weight, and I'm not just his friend. I can do my own thing. But they just do it in like a rude way. He had like one backstage with Ricochet, and he had a match with Ricochet, which I don't know if he won that one even. And then he had like right after the thing, Miz and Morrison do a backstage interview, and Tucker shows up And he's like, this didn't have anything to do with you. I'm tired of Otis. It's too much dead weight, blah, blah, blah. But up until then, he was fine. It never adheres to, like, logic back then. Like, it was just this shit would happen, and it was like, what? Why would he do that? That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And then Tucker was released the following April.
Yeah. And
it was always...
He's had interviews. I was watching one with Nick Hausman that he did, and he was like, God bless the guy. It was like he could see that they were transitioning from Heavy Machinery to Otis as a singles guy.
Yeah.
But like they didn't really explicitly like say that was happening. He just sort of saw it, and he was like, on one hand, I was trying to look out for myself, and that meant Heavy Machinery. On the other hand, I didn't want to hold my friend back because they're legitimately like best friends. I didn't want to hold him back from his thing. I also watched a clip from Otis's interview on Chris Van Vliet, and Chris had said, did they tell you what the plans were for Money in the Bank? He was like, I don't even think they had plans. They told me late in the day when we were filming the big thing. That, hey, because Jamie Noble had asked him, he was like, can you go up there and do like your best Godzilla up on the building on the ladder? He's like, I'm afraid of heights. I don't want to go up there. And they're like, well, you're going to win the thing. And he's like, oh, okay. And then they didn't really tell him anything afterwards.
Wow. Not surprising. I shouldn't be surprised.
Not shocked at all.
That's just how business was operated back then.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's no match, nothing.
Yeah, that was wild. That was wild that there wasn't even a match. It just seems like if you just want to, let's fill this time here. we need to fill time. Let's have a match between these guys. That makes all the sense in the world.
Not even that. Nope. Nothing.
That's wild.
It just seemed like they wanted to kind of protect Otis losing the briefcase. So how are we going to do that? All right, have his tag partner turn on him.
Yeah.
Kind of all it really came down to.
All right, man. Let's move on now to number 6. Enzo and Cass.
How you doing?
How you doing? This one is wild to me, and you put yourself back there, and I know there was those allegations that were later, determined to be sketchy, to say the least, against Enzo Amore. But that seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to his time in the company and him just being sort of, I don't know, too boisterous for people. I guess is a diplomatic way of saying it. But dude, you go back and you look at some of that stuff. I don't know, there was a more over guy on the roster than Enzo Amore.
I know.
And people loved him and Cass together.
They really did.
They loved them. It's funny because I went back and I was reading some like Reddit posts, and people were talking, or I think it was like the comment section of like a YouTube video where he was talking about all that stuff. And they were like, yeah, they brought the Hardys in for that WrestleMania because leading up to WrestleMania 2017, they were on the cusp. The Good Brothers had the tag titles, and Enzo and Cass, they lost a match preceding WrestleMania. Yep. They get to WrestleMania, they're in that they're the 4-way, and then the Hardys show up and kind of steal everybody's thunder.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't very long after that they ended up breaking up, Enzo and Cass.
It was May 22nd, I believe, of 2017, where we have the whodunit angle, who attacked Enzo Amore. So Cass would say, oh, it was Corey Graves. It was the Revival. Yeah. But then Cass was attacked, and it eventually revealed by Corey Graves that Cass not only attacked Enzo, but staged his own attack to draw suspicion away from himself.
He had security cam footage. Yeah. Of the funny thing is the security cam footage was Cass acting like he got attacked, and then they put it together. And Big Show was also like a suspect as well.
Yeah.
And
so Cass did Enzo was dead weight.
Okay. I will say this. This one felt like it could be legitimate because he did actually use the term dead weight.
He did.
But he preceded that by saying something that actually you could believe, and that was, do you have any idea what it's like being around you and you don't stop running your mouth every minute of every day?
Oh, you're saying that was a shoot, huh?
I'm like, I could kind of see that. That kind of tracks. That seems legitimate.
It does, but it still seems odd, the timing of it. I mean, I guess maybe it's a situation, maybe they weren't getting along at that point. like legitimately. You know,
yeah.
we don't know what was going on backstage necessarily at that time that precipitated the breakup, but on screen, still wildly popular.
Super popular, dude.
Still popular.
Yeah.
So they get into a feud. Eventually, it leads to the shark cage match. So you have Enzo suspended above the ring in a shark cage, and it's Big Show versus Cass. Cass wins that, even though Enzo got out of the shark cage. But then on the August 21st episode of Raw, we had a street fight between Enzo and Cass. And Enzo won that one because Cass hurt his knee.
Yeah.
And then Cass was out for a while. And after that, of course, Enzo went over to 205 Live, was Cruiserweight champ for a spell. Upset Roman Reigns at some point in there. Got kicked off the bus. Probably got kicked out of the locker room too, I think.
Yeah, and then there was the police investigation.
There was that
and
as well.
Apparently he didn't tell. That was the big problem, was he didn't tell people that was happening.
Yep.
Yeah, so I did a very basic search on, like, you know, and like one of the major claims was Vince wanted to push Big Cass as a singles guy.
Yeah.
He's a big dude, good look, you know. But then everything sort of fell apart. So, but yeah, dude, that's like one of the biggest what ifs, I think, kind of around that period is like Enzo. Remember like how the ratings would spike whenever he got on the microphone? Like he basically held the cruiserweight division together, and the guy he was not on the level of a wrestler as the other competitors.
Not even
there.
close. No.
God damn! Remember that time he concussed himself on that bottom rope?
Yeah, against the Vaudevillains, yeah.
The Vaudevillains, yeah. That was rough. Boy, that was rough. Yeah.
That was really rough.
But, of course, you know, he also broke the internet by being the subject of, speaking of the Vaudevillains, Simon Gotch's, you know, Simon Gotch. What was the name of the video? Simon Gotch. Was it just Simon Gotch shoots hard on Enzo Amore?
I think so.
Simon Gotch.
I can see the thumbnail more than I can see the
I know. I get the look on Aiden English's face. So that's what it is. Simon Gotch buries Enzo Amore.
That's what
he's
it
like
is,
this.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, man. One of these days we need to do like a top 10 shoot interviews.
No, we should. It's Kevin Nash eating ravioli.
Kevin Nash is probably on there twice.
Yeah.
The whiteboard. The whiteboard
might
is
be
everything.
3 times because there's that series he did with Are They Cool or Are They a Dick? There's that too.
God, dude, there's so many good Kevin Nash shoot interviews.
I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones.
All right, let's go ahead and move on now to number 5.
5.
We hurt people. It's our business to hurt people. Hurt business. It's the hurt business.
Hurt business. So this takes us back to 2021, early 2021. Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin are the tag champions over on Raw until the March 15th edition of Raw when they lose them to the New Day 2 weeks after that. MVP just lays into them about losing that match. Plus, they also lost a 2-on-1 handicap match to Drew McIntyre. And that particular loss meant that Cedric and Shelton were barred from ringside for Lashley's title defense against Drew at WrestleMania 37. Lashley then attacks Alexander, Benjamin. They're kicked out of the Hurt Business. And then they start feuding with each other. So not only do them as a tag team get kicked out of their faction, they cease being a tag team and start feuding against each other. So following Cedric and Shelton's ouster from the Hurt Business, Fightful reported that Vince was the one, of course, to make the call to split the group. Quote, much to the chagrin of those in the group. And Fightful noted that MVP and Lashley were pretty vocal about being displeased about the breakup. Fightful added that Lashley and MVP actually had a meeting with Vince before the March 29th episode of Raw to try to persuade Vince against breaking up the Hurt Business, but Vince dug in his heels even more.
Yeah, this one is fucking horrible. Like, dude, they were like one of the only watchable things during pandemic era.
Remember that episode of Raw where they're doing Raw Underground? It ends with Hurt Business destroying everybody?
I'm telling you, man.
That
Like,
was so
what is
cool.
it with Vince back then being able to set up some really cool shit and then never being able to pay anything off? Like, nothing ever got paid off in a cool way. Even like when you look back, obviously we mentioned already Kofi Mania, right? 6 months with the title, then the Brock thing, right?
Yeah.
Becky 2 belts. She lost one of them at the next pay-per-view.
Yep.
Like, there was never the entire history of The Fiend.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt. I mean, everything, the entire history of Bray Wyatt. Like, nothing ever. Like, he would always, the dude was really good at setting cool shit up. And then it would never pay off.
Nope.
Yeah, man. That's wild. That's why. And the Hurt Business, goddamn, man. They were over. You could tell Vince liked Lashley.
Yeah.
And Lashley liked Vince.
Yeah. It just seemed like going into WrestleMania that year, I don't know, it just seemed like Vince wanted Lashley to be dominant champion, which I guess in Vince's mind meant he couldn't have a faction with him, because in Vince's mind, if you have a faction with him, the faction have to help you win.
I mean, that's as good an explanation as any. It's like, well, faction means they help you win. I want this guy simply to dominate. So what are they going to be doing there? You know, it's like, no, they're way cooler together. They got chemistry.
Yeah.
They seem to really like each other. And then they had the Cedric stuff going on.
Yeah, where he's kind of the wild card. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, that was cool shit.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah, I know. Really huge missed opportunity. Massive missed opportunity.
Big time. All right, let's move on to number 4. The Dudleys. Man, oh man. So this goes back 23 years.
Yeah. The very first WWE draft in 2002, I believe. That's right.
Yeah.
So you have Ric Flair as the GM of Raw. Vince is running SmackDown. So Ric Flair makes his pick and he says, I'm going to draft the most dominant tag team in WWE history. I'm going to draft Bubba Ray Dudley. And then next is Vince's pick. And he goes, oh, Rick, you wanted the most dominant tag team in WWE history. Well, how about this? I'm drafting Devon Dudley. So they broke up the Dudleys on TV and storyline simply so Vince could stick it to Ric Flair. And he cut backstage, and it's not like Bubba Ray and Devon are in the ring. They're in the room with all the other talent, hearing the news.
Yeah.
You know, and they have a moment where they get a hug, shake hands, wish each other luck. And then they went on their own solo endeavors. And I got this quote here from Bruce Pritchard talking about the decision to split up the Dudleys on an episode of Something to Wrestle With. So he said, I think Conrad asked who was the one that kind of greenlit the idea. And Bruce says, I thought that both would prosper as singles. I thought Devon in a tag team relied on Bubba. And I thought Devon cut some damn good promos. I was definitely under the belief that they'd be better on their own. We had the preacher gimmick, and that was something that Devon was comfortable with, but obviously it didn't work.
I like that Brother Love is obsessed with preacher gimmicks.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm like, dude, it's 2002. We don't need a preacher gimmick. It's not 1992, man.
I know.
Yeah, he really did the preacher gimmick good, but it's just the time, like, we don't need that. Like, that's not going to get over, even though he did a really good job with it. And of course, he brought in Deacon Batista.
Yep.
Bubba Ray also had some words about that in an interview with Chris Van Vliet. And he said these transcripts were via Fightful. He says, I never had aspirations to be a singles guy. Devon always wanted to try the singles thing. He always wanted to branch out. So when the draft came, I told Vince, this is not a good idea. He asked why. And I said, because nobody wanted to see Hawk and Animal wrestle by themselves. And nobody wanted to see me and Devon wrestle by ourselves. I'm telling you, man, this is a brief aside here. He's right. Bubba's right. Bubba kind of knows what he's talking about. He says, I wasn't quite sure how it would go. Did I have confidence in myself? Yeah. Did I have confidence in Devon? Yeah, but I knew we'd never done it without each other. I just didn't think people were ready for Devon by himself or Bubba by himself. And months later, Vince put us back together at the Garden. I looked at that as it was a kind of a failed experiment. And we saw, like in TNA, say what you will about Bully Ray. Bully Ray was an effective singles guy if with the right branding, with the right packaging. Too often, it was crazy to me. We mentioned it earlier with Thebar. They break up. Cesaro shows up as a singles guy. He still has Thebar branding. What the like? I always said this about Big E. They tried to half-ass it. He's basically solo New Day guy. No, you got to go back to the Triple H philosophy. Break up with DX. Don't be DX guy. Do your own thing. Symbolize visually that you're your own guy.
Well, I'll say this about the Cesaro example. If Thebar broke up because Sheamus got hurt, it wasn't necessarily a planned breakup. Therefore, they probably didn't have anything like ready to go for new assets for Cesaro.
I would posit that you don't even need new assets. Just go back to the old singles assets for him. I think that makes more sense, But I mean, it was that kind of thing. You'd kind of see that kind of shit all the time, even if he was like, I mean, like I think it works. I was about to mention Roman Reigns holding on desperately to the Shield stuff. And I think you can say that actually kind of works because the betrayal was so thick that he was trying to hold on to it.
Yeah.
I don't think that was their philosophy, though. I just think that they were like, yeah, he's going to, the branding of the Shield is so strong, we're just going to continue it on with Roman. It's like, Roman didn't find real success until he rebranded as the tribal chief.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyways, let's go ahead and move on now to number 3. A-Town Down Under. Just saw this one.
Just saw this one, in the most kind of offhand way, announced that they were done after months of...
Months? It's been at least a year, hasn't it?
Well, I mean,
when did they win the tag
comprised
titles?
of many months.
I know. But, they won the tag titles a year ago at Mania,
40.
right?
Mania 40.
And then, it was not that long after they started, there was, fissures in the team.
Yeah. Yep.
Jesus. Yeah, it's been a long time.
It has been a long time. Year and a half, basically. And yeah, as you mentioned, pretty much since the day they won the SmackDown tag titles at Mania 40, it was like, all right, clock's ticking on them breaking up, it seems like. And they'd have, perhaps most notably and recently on NXT, where they both challenged Obafemi for the NXT title. It seemed like, oh, all right, this breakup's going to happen. Within a matter of weeks. No. They'd always have a story beat that would lead you to believe this breakup is imminent, and then they do stuff in the background for weeks upon weeks upon weeks. And that was the repeating cycle for a year and a half, basically. Mm-hmm. Now Austin Theory is apparently injured, and so now they think the time is right just for Grayson Waller to tell New Day, hey, Austin Theory is injured. Let me help you guys out.
Yeah.
A-Town Down is under. A-Town Down Under is over, I meant to say.
Yeah.
Not A-Town Down is under. So, no drama. No program to try to get both of them over. Just fizzled out.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that they couldn't find something. You know what I think is even more kind of startling to me? Clearly... I would have thought, coming out of NXT, being part of the 2.0 crew, Grayson Waller, he was never my favorite, but he very quickly took to what pro wrestling is. Mm-hmm. I mean, he really did kind of come off like the heir apparent to The Miz, which is a great spot to be in,
Oh, yeah.
And it's wild to me that they sort of buried him within this tag team. And the same about Austin Theory. And Triple H, I don't know if it's simply Triple H. You saw what he tried to do with Austin Theory when he first took over. He got rid of the selfie thing. He just tried to make him serious guy.
Yeah.
And him and Waller had really good chemistry. But maybe it's just one of those things where Triple H is thinking, I can figure this out, but I just don't have the energy to do it right now. And so you just push and you push and you push. And it's like, I know there's something there, so he's not going to be on the release list. Mm-hmm. I know there's something there, but I just don't know what it is. And you push 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 and you keep on pushing. And that's the only thing I can really come up with in terms of all right, I know that there can be something here. Mm-hmm. I just don't really know what it is. Mm-hmm. You try to think... You try to think from the perspective of, generally speaking, how do creative ideas work? It's like they don't. You can't force it sometimes.
No.
And maybe that's what this is. I don't know. Or maybe there's shit going on backstage that we're just not privy to. I don't know.
It's possible too. Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, just to see it fizzle out after intermittently so much attention was paid to the possibility of them breaking up, and just for it to happen this way, it's a letdown. Massive letdown.
Two guys that could easily be at this point in the same sort of sphere level as Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
if handled properly.
Yeah.
Like, that's your that's your future right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so pretty wild. Anyways, let's go ahead and revisit this one. Number 2.
2.
The Acclaimed. So this was a weird one because they were wildly popular, became tag team champions, lost the titles.
To the Guns in pretty shocking fashion.
Yeah, then just to get the titles back on FTR, which was, I think, a stupid move.
Yeah.
And from then, they became trios champions because they really did too much. There was too much Billy Gunn in the Acclaimed.
There was way too much Billy Gunn in the Acclaimed. In fact, after they dropped the tag titles, the story about them becoming trios champion had everything to do with Billy Gunn.
Yeah. He retired.
Too much Billy Gunn.
And then they were like, no, Billy, don't retire. We'll go after trios titles with you, which still, they were pretty popular. And then when those went away, didn't they drop those to like also like the same crew, like a Bullet Club Gold, the Bang Bang Gang? I swear I thought they were wearing like, was it somebody else? Okay. Well, in any event. And then at a certain point, and I'll never know if this was like planned or if it was just Caster being kind of like openly passive aggressive about not being happy with his lot.
It was Bang Bang Gang. Good memory.
It was, okay. But they just started like very slowly having Caster be half-assing his performances, or at least at like, giving benefit of the doubt in character, not being into what they were doing. Yeah. And then eventually they really started leaning in on that. And so finally, after months of Caster just kind of being annoying and proclaiming himself to be the best wrestler alive, on the Maximum Carnage edition of AEW Collision in January this year, Bones and Caster, Caster called out the rest of the Acclaimed and was like, hey, I'm the best wrestler alive, and you need to choose between me and Billy Gunn. And Bowens went off on Caster, said, you're an annoying piece of shit, and I'm the 5-tool athlete around here. And Caster busted out his trademark for best wrestler alive. And then Caster just left.
Yeah, after Bowens put up to Scissor, because that's when he asked the choice, hey, but then flips him off instead and stands by Billy Gunn.
Yes, yeah.
And then Caster just leaves. And then they have to wait till Dynasty, which is several months later. This happens in January. They wait till the March pay-per-view to have a match. It's on the kickoff show. It lasts 40 seconds.
It was the open challenge thing. Because at that point, I mean, say what you will. I don't know what's going on backstage. I'm assuming, just by watching how this went down, that Caster maybe wanted to go solo. That's like the only assumption I can make. I don't know. Because why else would you break up this tag team? That's crazy to me.
I know.
Like it just didn't feel like this was backstage. They're deciding, okay, let's tell a story with the Acclaimed where Caster, you start acting passive aggressive and act like you don't want to be there. And then we're going to have, but it's like, why wouldn't you do a big feud after that? Like you can make a big deal out of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
they were two of the most over wrestlers in the entire company. Yeah.
And elevate both guys in the process if you want to do a singles thing. But they're like, the thing is, they already have so many singles guys.
I know.
They didn't need 2 more. When you have like a tag team division, which has been basically splintered by the trios titles, and you need good tag teams. They lost LAX because they legitimately wanted to do their own thing. So this was crazy. This was absolutely wild. And it's like neither guy, Caster is really good at the comedy stuff. It's over. I don't know if he'll ever win or be like a winning wrestler again. You would think that maybe he has a good chance because that stuff is over.
Yeah, it's starting to get over now.
And there's like little references here and there. Bones has been completely repackaged and has not met much success with that. So yeah, this is kind of a drag. Let me ask you this. This. If WWE came knocking, let's say both these guys' contract expire around the same time.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, we want the Acclaimed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that could happen? Do you think, just seeing how you see things play out, do you think Bowens and Caster, and I guess maybe Billy Gunn, do you think they'd ever get on the same page to get a contract with WWE as a tag team?
I mean, if it's a situation where the split was motivated by one or both of them wanting to be singles wrestlers, that'd be much harder to accomplish, obviously.
Kind of seems like that would be the case, though, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on the nature of the deal. If it's something like, hey, huge money deal, straight to main roster, no NXT. You go to Raw where the tag division's kind of weak as is. That might be enticing with the idea, all right, we're there, we're a tag team for a couple years, and then we'll get another opportunity to do our own thing.
Yeah. I wonder, I'm just really curious about that. Like, if that would ever be a possibility, you know? Because, goddamn, they were entertaining.
They were so good together.
Yeah, they really were. But I don't know. Hopefully they'll find success on their own. I think I think that dude is wildly creative, and I think he's really, really fun as a singles guy. And Bowens obviously is. He's got all the tools. Yeah, they need to crack a character for him, though.
They do.
They really do. Because I think he's got it. It's just finding it, you know?
Yeah. Agreed.
He has everything else, though.
He does.
Anyways. All right, man. Let's talk about this one. Our number one. The IIconics. Boy, this is a bummer.
It was. So they were feuding. Been back to 2020. The IIconics were in a feud with the Riot Squad, and they were booked in a match on the August 31st, 2020 edition of Raw, where the winning team would get a tag title shot, losing team would be forced to break up. Ruby Riott rolls up, Billy Kay, IIconics lose, and then they're eventually drafted to opposite brands, with Peyton Royce going to Raw, Billy Kay going to SmackDown. And then the rumors at the time was that the team were split up because Peyton Royce was in line for a singles push. That push never really materialized, even though Peyton Royce had an awesome finisher around that time.
She did.
And then both Peyton and Billy were released just 6 months later in the round of roster cuts following Mania 37. So both Peyton, Cassie, and Billy Kay, Jessica, had interviews with Chris Van Vliet and tell a story, individual interviews, I should say, not a joint one, where, so from Peyton's perspective, she says at one point early in 2020, she had a conversation with Billy about pursuing a solo career at some point. But she said at that time she had not pitched it to Vince. But then at some point, Billy was hurt. Peyton was booked for a singles match. Vince really enjoyed it, talked to her afterwards, and at that point, Peyton says, hey, at some point, maybe in the future, not immediately, if there's an opportunity, I'd like to see what I could do as a singles wrestler. So then in Billy Kay's interview with Chris Van Vliet, she says the following, quote, I feel like, and I'm not sure of the timelines of the stories, but from what I can remember, Vince saw Cass in the ring in a singles match. He thought she is incredible and she's a star. Well, duh, yeah. I feel like there was what do we do with the IIconics? Maybe we should just split them up. I feel like that kind of sparked the conversation, but again, I wasn't there. I don't know what is said behind closed doors. You don't know what is said in those meetings, so I have no idea what they thought the direction was. But we still had a little time together after she had that singles match, so I feel like they were still trying to figure it out. But tag teams, unless you are the Bloody New Day, I would have loved to be in a tag team for that long. It's kind of inevitable that you evolve and go separate ways. I'm glad there was a draft coming up because I knew they needed to put us on separate brands. Also in Cassie's, Peyton Royce's interview, she seemed pretty regretful about making that statement to Vince about trying to pursue singles.
She does, yeah. Yeah, it's wild to me, especially with Billy Kay. Like, Peyton Royce, hell of a wrestler, you know. Yeah. But Billy Kay had that, you cannot teach or manufacture or what she had in terms of her personality was, you can't manufacture that. You can't teach that. You really can't.
No.
She is goddamn hilarious. She has got so much charisma that just absolutely shines through the camera. It's crazy to me that they weren't able to crack her as a single star. I know they did stuff with the 8x10, but it was never more than like a comedy gimmick. But god damn it, she had talent.
So even if you watch the interview they did backstage right after they lost this match.
Oh, it's hard to watch because they're so tore up. Yeah.
There is, but Billie Kay, there's a moment where some pyro goes off. She's like, we're trying to have a moment here, and that is played for laughs,
Yeah.
And even in a moment where it's really emotional, they're both on the verge of tears. Like, she still knows, all right, there's a moment here that we could have.
She's an absolute natural. Like, if she had chosen a different career path, like, actress in comedy, she would have been wildly successful. She really would have been. I'm not saying that she wasn't successful in her given path because she still had a really successful career. But yeah, it's wild to me that she wasn't like first on the list of people to bring back because she's so damn good. Like the personality is just tenfold most of the people they've got on the roster. It's wild to me.
Yep.
But they just challenged for the TNA Knockouts tag titles, lost in the pre-show there at that last pay-per-view. But I don't know, maybe they'll do more stuff with the inspiration. Because boy, they were a hell of a team, and they were so much.
They really were.
And honestly, it's just that dynamic of two people who obviously really like each other, and one person always cracking the other person up. It's like you can't beat that. It's so good.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah. Anyways, so there you go. There's the episode, and that'll do it for the show today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back. This is airing on Friday.
Yeah.
So we will be back on Monday.
Correct.
With what we could do next week? Unreal drops on Tuesday.
That's right.
So we can start doing some Unreal reviews.
That's a good point. We should do that.
Just saying.
Yeah,
Anyways,
why not?
It's going to do it for this edition of the Countouts. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.